Hey, it's Lee. Welcome to Business Problem Solved. Today, I want to talk to you about something that we all do. We all measure stuff, don't we? We all measure stuff. But why do we measure? Some people, they measure stuff to look good. And really, the sole purpose of measuring is to learn something, to understand something, to build that knowledge about a certain situation. So have a think about the things in your team, in your business, in your life that you measure currently. You might be measuring all sorts of different processes, the outputs of different processes to put into a dashboard, to go to a monthly meeting, to look good, to make it all green. But that's not the reason to measure. That's not the right reason to measure. We should only be measuring, really, I believe, to learn something, to understand something, to understand and learn how we are doing against how we should be doing, to learn and understand what things are getting in the way of us achieving what we're trying to achieve. We're not doing it to look good. If you're doing it to look good, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. I posted recently on LinkedIn about how my dog gets all excited in an annoying way at the postman. So no matter where I am in the house, I can gauge whether the postman is about to visit the house. And why did I post this? Well, because some of our measures tell us something before it happens, a leading measure, and some measures tell us something after it's already happened. So just to carry the dog analogy through, if there is a piece of post that's been posted through the door, then that would be a lagging measure that the postman had been, because I can see the post. If the dog is barking, then that's a leading measure and allows me to go and save the piece of post from being destroyed by the little dog, because I can act upon that first bark. And we have these types of measures in our businesses, but more often than not, we wait until after the event to try to make it better. But what leading measures do you have that can help prevent you from failing some of your lagging measures, your output measures? What things feed into it to make it look, to make it and give you the confidence that what you are doing, whether it's making something, producing something, answering something, providing a service for something, what are the leading measures that allow you to know whether things are on track or not? Because the sole purpose of measuring is to learn and to understand where we are against where we should be and what things are getting in the way of us achieving that thing. So have a think about your measures in your team, in your business, and are they lagging measures? So is it after the effect? Is it an output measure when it's already been produced and it's too late to put it right? Or is it a leading measure? Is it something that you can see, feel, hear, touch before the actual thing has been finished? If you read the newspaper, does anybody still do that? If you read the newspaper or the football scores after 90 minutes as a football manager, it's too late to affect the result of that game. If you're looking up at the scoreboard whilst the game is in play, you can see exactly how you're doing. If you break that down even further, because you now see footballers wearing these electronic devices to track the number of sprints and the heart rate and all of this stuff, is all leading measures that can inform and allow us to understand more about how we are doing. And we can maybe make some smaller changes that contribute to losing or winning a game, because we're building that level of knowledge, that level of understanding, and we are becoming wiser about the processes that we're working. There's 3 levels of knowledge, isn't there? There's 3 levels of learning. First is knowledge. You read a book. The second is understanding, which is around you've read a book and you've now maybe applied something. So you understand it because you've tried it. And then the third level is potentially wisdom. So where you've applied it over a period of time. So knowledge, foundation level, then understanding, and then wisdom. And the more and better measures that you have allow you to act, to allow you to understand and become wise before things happen. And that's the sole purpose. We're trying to become and develop learning organizations, teams that learn to get better every single day. And the only way you can get better every single day is by becoming more wise about what it is that you're doing every single day. And the more you can become more wise about the things that you're doing every single day by measuring the things that you are doing, but measuring them in a way that is meaningful, that allows you to understand the component parts of the process, of the output, and allows you to act in a timely fashion. Far too often as well within organizations, just to go on a slight tangent, you'll have different functions that have got different output measures to make them look good. But like we started with, that is not the purpose of measuring stuff. It's not to look good. So if you've got a marketing department that is solely built on, or even a sales department solely built to sell stuff, but it's selling stuff that can't be delivered in an operational world, then you might have a conflict in your measures between the departments. So I would encourage you to understand where it is that you're trying to get to collectively as an organization, as a business, and then understand what each department within that organization and business needs to do to help each other get to where they are trying to get to. But it also allows the organization to become a learning organization, because you're measuring the stuff that understands where you are, where you want to get to, and what's getting in the way of you getting to where you want to try to get to. And the wiser we become about that, the more that we will improve. So you might have one team that is continuously improving, that's measuring stuff in the right way, that's developing stuff, but they might be developing far faster than the rest of the organization. So in your measures, it's about understanding what the other teams can do to develop that learning system, so they can understand where they are, where they should be, and what is getting them in the way of them being where they need to be for the organization's goals. Because if it's all to achieve a particular goal or destination in the end, then all of the teams and the functions need to understand the component parts of that, and then the parts of their organization that contribute to it. So measures can be quite complex, and I feel like I've been on a bit of a lyrical journey on this podcast today, try to distill some of the things. But fundamentally, the reason why we measure is to understand and to learn. It is not to look good. And we need to understand and learn how every single function and department is contributing to the overall business or organization's goal and vision. That fundamentally is why we need to measure. We need to measure in a team, in a business, to become wise about what are the things that are getting in our way. So that, again, the 3 levels of learning: knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. Knowledge is like reading a book, seeing a score at the end of the game. I know how that score, I know what that score was. Understanding is about measuring something, understanding it to then be able to apply it. And then wisdom is about continued application of that understanding, and then you become wiser in it. But if you don't have the right measures, you can't understand and then be able to act often enough to become wise. So yeah, there's two parts of this podcast, really. There's one is that it's all about learning. And we need to make sure that the sole purpose that we are measuring is so that we can learn, and we can learn together in where we are, where we're trying to get to, and what's getting in our way of getting there. And then secondly, is the organization and the business aligned collectively to support each other to achieve the company's goals and destination. Measures is an absolute mountain, or it can be, because people make a mountain out of it. And if you think about a mountain, you'll have the senior people right at the top of the mountain, really far away from the process, from the operation. And what often happens is we have the same measures through the whole vertical, from the top of the business right down to the bottom of the business and the operation part. But often that is not the right way, because you'll be having and creating the same level of conversation that doesn't allow people to then become wise, because you're taking the empowerment, the ownership of the decisions, you're taking it up to the board level, to the senior management level, because you're having the same level of conversation. So everybody waits for an answer from them people to make it better. So part 3 of this podcast really is about making sure you have the right measures for the right level of an organization, for the right team, for the right function, that empowers them and doesn't remove them from the decision-making process of what they can do, what's within their control and gift to make things better. Often we look out of the window, and when we're looking out the window, we're looking up at the mountain at somebody more senior than us, and we'll just pass the problem up to them. So how can you make sure that the measures give you enough information that for the things that you can control to make it better? So 3 things in this podcast. I only started talking about one thing. It just shows how complex measures can be within an organization. Every team measures stuff, but we need to measure things for the right reason. And that was point number 1, measuring things for the right reason. And it is to learn, and it's to understand. It's to learn, it's to understand how we are doing against where we should be, and what things are getting in the way of us doing them. Number 2 was around the 3 levels of understanding, 3 levels of knowledge. Sorry, 3 levels of learning, which is knowledge, understanding, and wisdom, and making sure that we are then building that, and then making sure within each of the different functions aligned to the vision. So having the department and the goal, and the goal of the business is to get to a particular place, having all of the departments and the functions aligned to get to that place. And then number 3 was around making sure that every level of the hierarchy has their own measures to empower them and enable them to do what they need to do to get better. So measures is quite a complex thing. You need to look at it at a systemic level, the top of the organization, or the whole end-to-end of the organization, to satisfy point number 2, and that all of the measures are not competing. They're all complementary to where you're trying to get to. But we also need to do it from a human level, from a people level, and make sure that the measures are aligned to allow people to understand what they can do, what's within their gift, so they don't look out of the window and they look in the mirror to make sure that what they're doing is getting better every single day.